Welcome back to Two Therapists Walk Into a Podcast. I'm Stephanie Edsel, an LCSW in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Robin Green, an LCSW in Tucson, Arizona.
In the last few episodes of this series, we've been talking about what it's like to live in a body that doesn't always feel predictable. In episode 42, we explored uncertainty as a baseline. What happens when you wake up and you're not entirely sure what your body will allow that day? And in the mini episode, we talked about those sudden moments when symptoms flare and everything shifts quickly. And in the mini episode, we talked about those sudden moments when symptoms flare and everything shifts quickly. Today, we want to talk about something that often develops quietly after that. The cost of constantly noticing your body.
Right, because for a lot of people, especially people navigating chronic illness, autoimmune issues, fluctuating energy, or pain, there's a phase where you start paying closer attention to your body. And that attention can be really helpful at first. You learn what helps, you learn what makes things worse. You may start to see patterns. And then over time, that attention can slowly turn into monitoring. And monitoring can quietly become a real full-time background job.
It really can. You start tracking things automatically, things like energy, pain levels, digestion, heart rate, sleep quality, how long you've been standing, how long you've been sitting, whether a headache is building, whether or not your body feels like it might turn on you later. None of this is irrational. In fact, for many people, it's the result of learning their body carefully over time. It's adaptation. And adaptation still has a cost.
One of the things that we see often clinically is that people feel confused by how tired they are, even on days when symptoms aren't extreme. And they'll say something like, "Nothing terrible happened today, and I'm still exhausted." And sometimes that exhaustion, it's not just physical. It's that mental effort of constantly checking the system. You know, for example, someone might go to work, they attend a meeting at work, they run an errand, and technically the day can look normal from the outside, but internally they've been calculating something else the whole time. How much energy is left, whether the lights are triggering a migraine, you know, whether their body will turn on them when they get home. That kind of constant internal monitoring really, really does add up.
No, I think it's really important to notice that, because even the way we speak to ourselves, that internal dialogue, and I realize not everybody does have an internal dialogue. For the folks that do, sometimes it's incessant, and it's really critical to notice what the story is, if it's a survival story or if it's a story of something here in the now. Here in the now, we have things we can control or modify, but language like crash, for example, could send your nervous system into a very high threat state, and it is going to increase that inflammation and that functioning at less capacity.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And it's so true. Just the languaging that we use really does affect our internal state.
For sure. No problem.
And before we go deeper into this, let's slow down for a moment. If it feels okay, just notice your body right now. Not having to scan or analyze. Notice your contact with wherever you're sitting. Maybe the pressure of the chair underneath you. Possibly your feet on the floor. Or maybe the way your shoulders are resting. noticing the temperature of the room, a sound somewhere in the background, something steady, a fan, traffic, even the hum of a room. Allow your breath to be natural, nothing to change and nothing to improve. Just a brief moment where your body doesn't have to report anything. Many people listening to this are used to constantly asking their body questions. How are we doing? Is something wrong? Is my body going to turn on me? And sometimes the nervous system benefits from a few seconds where no question is being asked.
There's an important distinction we want to make here. Attunement to the body can be supportive. It helps people pace themselves. It helps people respond earlier to signals. It helps prevent pushing too far past capacity. But attunement can slowly tip into vigilance, and vigilance consumes energy.
When someone has experienced repeated unpredictability, those flares, that sudden fatigue, even pain spikes, the nervous system learns that paying attention might prevent the next disruption. And so it starts watching constantly. You might find yourself checking small shifts all day long. Is my stomach off? Is my heart racing? Is this the beginning of a migraine? Is this fatigue normal? Or is it the start of something? That monitoring isn't a personality flaw. It's now an adaptive nervous system strategy. And even adaptive strategies are going to require fuel.
Monitoring your own body requires cognitive resources. Your brain is tracking signals, comparing them to yesterday, predicting what might happen later. It's essentially running a constant background analysis, and honestly, it's sometimes just a racket.
Yes. And attention itself is metabolically expensive. It's the brain burning energy when it tracks, compares, predicts, and adjusts. So even on days where symptoms are mild, the brain may still be working, evaluating, forecasting, adjusting, and that ongoing evaluation can quietly drain your capacity. So people often assume fatigue must come from severe symptoms, but I truly believe that sometimes fatigue comes from management, from running the monitoring system all day long.
And by sometimes, probably more often than not.
Exactly.
For some people, especially those who are neurodivergent, pattern recognition, it's already really strong. The brain naturally tracks systems and changes on its own.
When that pattern recognition turns inward toward the body, it can amplify that noticing. You might detect very subtle shifts, those small energy drops, temperature changes, digestive signals. And while that awareness can sometimes be helpful and nurturing, it can also make it harder for the system to rest when it needs to, because that analysis is going to keep running.
Here's our nervous system nugget for today. Monitoring requires activation. Your nervous system has to stay alert enough to detect change, even small shifts.
So when someone spends most of the day evaluating signals, the system may stay slightly elevated. Not really in a full fight or flight state, but in a subtle readiness. The brain keeps asking, do we need to adjust? Is everything okay? And so over time, hyper-attunement without periods of disengagement can become vigilance. And again, that vigilance can consume capacity. This is why people sometimes feel tired, even when nothing dramatic is happening. Their nervous system has been working all day.
One practice that can help reduce the load is something we call structured noticing. Instead of monitoring constantly, you intentionally choose moments to check in. I love that.
Right? Me too. So, for example, you might check in with your body in the morning, then again midday, and once in the evening. And outside those windows, the goal isn't to ignore symptoms. It's just simply to give your nervous system and yourself permission to step out of constant evaluation. You might say something like, I'll check in with my body again at lunch. That small structure can help the brain relax the urge to monitor every minute, and it can give you something structured to rely on too.
Sometimes people also choose one stabilizing ritual. I think that that's something that I do with my dogs. That's my morning routine. Walk those dogs every single day. So this sends a signal of safety to my nervous system. Everything's okay. You can do this. We've kind of set the theme or the mood for the day. So that can, again, look like a short walk, a cup of tea, stepping outside for fresh air. Those small moments of predictability really help balance the constant noticing.
I agree. Like setting the intention for the day. I stir it in my coffee, my intention.
I love that. That's really, really sweet.
Yeah. You can do it too. Living with a body that requires attention doesn't mean every moment has to be spent analyzing it. Creating small spaces where noticing softens can gradually restore some capacity. Over time, those small pauses can remind the nervous system that it doesn't have to stay on watch every minute of the day.
And we want to say thank you to those of you listening to this series. These conversations matter because so many people are navigating these experiences quietly, often without language for what is happening in their bodies. We appreciate you spending time with us and thinking through this with us. Next episode, we'll close this series by talking about what care can look like when it genuinely supports the nervous system instead of overwhelming it. And remember, healing isn't linear, and we're here for the ride. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for therapy, medical care, or professional advice.
Listening to this podcast or this episode does not create a therapeutic, clinical, or professional relationship with us.
If you're experiencing distress, physical symptoms, or emotional concerns that feel overwhelming, we both encourage you to seek support from a qualified healthcare or mental health professional.
And if you are in immediate danger or need urgent support, please contact local emergency services or a crisis line in your area.